Have you ever given somebody a gift? Any gift at all in money, something valuable, anything, and then quietly expected that you get something back in return? I mean, maybe not immediately, but eventually you expect that there will be a thank you, a favor, the person will be loyal to you, some kind of recognition or applause or even influence. I'm guilty. I remember times I have done things for people or given things to people and expected that they would call at least to acknowledge that, oh, I got what you sent. I mean, it's natural as human beings to give and expect something back. And if we would be very honest with ourselves, most of us are like that. We don't really give just freely. We give expecting something in return. But the other day, as I was reading the leader who had no title, I came across a passage that was both beautiful and uncomfortable, and I want to share that passage with you. Robin Sharma wrote in the electronic version of the book, to help and give with no real expectation of anything in return is a real gift. Anything less is no gift at all. Indeed, this sentence is beautiful but uncomfortable because it will force you to ask yourself certain questions. Okay, why do you really give? I'm asking myself, why do I really give? Is my kindness really free, or is it carrying an invisible price tag? Imagine that someone gave you something very beautiful for your birthday. You were so happy, overwhelmed with gratitude. And then a couple of months later, they remind you how expensive what they bought for you was. And then later on, they want you to do something for them. And when you can't, they remind you, but I bought you a watch the other time. Do you know how expensive that watch was? And every time you have any kind of disagreement with the person, they remind you, do you know how much I spent on your card? Do you know how much I spent on your this and your that? After all I've done for you, this small thing, you don't want to do it for me. And then you realize that suddenly that wristwatch or that car or that phone was never really a gift. It was a contract that was merely disguised as generosity. And many relationships are built that way. I remember a very wise friend of mine once told me that Rosie, ɔdɔne nea a yɛde akyɛ wo kwa. So wait, love is that which has been given to you freely at no cost, without expecting anything in return. How true he was. Many of our relationships are built that we trust in. Even parents and children. Sometimes parents expect children to toe a certain line or read certain courses or pursue certain careers for them because they have paid their fees. There are parents who want to live the lives they couldn't live through their children, and they hold the children to ransom. If you don't do this, I won't pay you. If you don't do this, I will not do that for you. Friends will keep score. Anytime they do something for you, they will remind you when they also want you to do something for them. Sometimes business partners even keep emotional receipts. Every act of kindness becomes a bargaining chip. Every gift that we give has a hidden price tag. But look at a mango tree, for example. A mango tree would produce fruit no matter what for anybody. It doesn't ask your reputation. So long as the season for producing mangoes are around, it will produce mangoes for the rich people, the poor people, the dishonest person, the honest person. Some of it will fall to the ground and rot. Some will be eaten, but the mango tree would always produce mango fruits. Its identity as a mango tree is not determined by the gratitude of the people who eat the mango. Could that be a very good way for us as leaders to live? To produce what we can and will make produce, irrespective of who gets it and how well they use it or not. The sun is another example. The sun never sends a bill to any of us. It shines on all of us, both the honest and the dishonest people, whether we appreciate it or not. Imagine waking up one day and getting an invoice from the sun that Mr. So and so, you owe me this amount of dollars or Ghana cedis. I've shown my bright light on you for this number of years. That would be very absurd, right? Yet many of us are like that. We do what we were built to do, what God has destined us to do, but at the end of the day, we are expecting something in return. We calculate every favor we do, every sacrifice, every act of kindness, every kind word. We are calculating it and expecting something in return. Any kind of generosity that demands something in return was not generosity at all, not in the first place. It merely becomes a transaction. Many years ago, I heard a story about a teacher who had a student that was struggling. And this teacher spent extra time to tutor this boy. And many years later, this boy becomes a very renowned surgeon. And he went back to look for this teacher. This young teacher, at the time she did this boy a favor, had no idea what he was going to become. She had no idea if he was ever going to become anything at all or be able to repay her. And many years after, she probably might have even forgotten about the boy. He came looking for her to reward her for something she did many years back. That was the true gift. Jesus is our greatest example of almost every principle we talk about here. He is the greatest example of selfless giving. He will feed thousands of people who will just disappear into the crowd. He washed the feet of disciples who would later abandon him. He even washed the feet of Judas, and he knew Judas was going to betray him. Imagine serving somebody you knew had the capacity to or would betray you. And indeed, everybody around you has the capacity to betray you. But that does not stop us from serving and from loving people. If giving depended on whether people deserve it or not, Judas would never have clean feet because Jesus would never have washed his feet. Jesus gave anyway. He said, and Paul wrote in Romans 5 verse 8, that for God demonstrates his own love towards us, in that whilst we were yet sinners, so Christ died for us. Not after we became perfect, not after we earned God's love. Before, that is what grace is, and that is what leadership is. When we serve people before, not after they serve. And this principle is illustrated by the Good Samaritan. It was illustrated by the widow with the 2 points. And many years after, we still refer to the widow and we say widow's mite. What she gave, those 2 copper coins, in terms of money, was not valuable compared to what other people were giving. But the value of her sacrifice was in the motive behind it and the heart of generosity behind it, because that was all she had. That was all she had, and yet she gave it anyway, knowing that she was not going to get anything back. What does love require of you right now? What is love requiring of you? Compassion that does not calculate, that does not have to work out Would Kwabena be able to repay me for all I'm doing for him in the near future? If you need to calculate before you give out your love or your compassion, then I bet you it is not a gift, it is a transaction. The widow gave not for applause, not for influence, not for recognition. And that is how God measures generosity, different from the world. God measures generosity by looking at the motive. And what I'm talking about does not mean that we should just be giving, ignoring wisdom and boundaries, because there are people who take because they are just selfish. Giving people does not mean that you are enabling harmful behavior. If somebody is being self-destructive, giving money, he goes to buy drugs and he goes to chase girls, he does things that are not necessary with the money, of course you should not continue giving that person money. And forgiving also does not mean that injustice should never happen. Okay, generosity should flow from a place of love, but not from guilt and from a place of manipulation. Some people will manipulate you into giving them. That is really not a place to be generous. So be mindful of people who would manipulate you. Jesus loved deeply, yet there were times when he said no. You don't have to say yes all the time in the name of being generous or loving. Sometimes you need to say no. Sometimes he will withdraw to go and pray when people wanted him to be with them, to be talking, to be performing miracles. Sometimes he confronted people who were being hypocritical. He walked away from those who were determined not to accept the truth. When people are not ready to accept the truth, you can't keep giving them your love and your truth and whatever you hold dear. How can you cast your pearls before swines? Selfless giving should walk hand in hand and side by side with boundaries. There must be healthy, sensible boundaries to our love and our giving. Imagine a world where we would give encouragement without expecting anything back. No praise, no thank you, no influence, no approval. Where we share knowledge with people without expecting that we share in their success. We mentor people without demanding that they remain loyal to us. When we celebrate people's victories without making it about ourselves. Where we help quietly, we laugh freely, we serve joyfully. And we do all these things without applause or the limelight. The world will become richer, not because more money has been created, but because there's more generosity in it. Before you show any act of kindness to anybody, ask yourself, if this person never said thank you, if they never repaid me, if they never remembered what I did, would I still choose to give? If your answer is yes, then really that gift is free, and your heart is also free. And you are becoming the leader who changes lives without needing an applause. Because you see, the greatest gift is measured by what it brings back. Because you see, the greatest gift is never measured by what it gives back to the giver, but rather it is measured by what it awakens. Today I have a challenge for you. Give somebody your time, your wisdom, your encouragement, your kindness, your forgiveness, and expect nothing back. Keep no emotional ledger and trust that every act of kindness was never wasted. Jesus said that it is more blessed. Not because giving would guarantee a reward from the receiver, but because giving shapes us into people who reflect the heart of God our Father. Give freely, give humbly, lead humbly, love generously. That is not weakness. That is greatness. And that is serving without a title. God bless you.